I won't be keeping anyone long. I'm just going to be talking through some brief examples of how patient and public involvement, or PPI, is helping Sunflower. I'm Kerry, I'm the PPI lead for Sunflower, but I'm also presenting the slides on behalf of Liz Booth, who's our public contributor and co-applicant and helps to lead the PPI activities with me. So next slide, please, Maddie. So we have formed, the very basic first step with PPI is to form a PPI advisory group who we've been consulting with on various issues throughout the study. We've got on that group 2 of our public study steering committee members who've been incredibly helpful, so they're doing a dual role for the study, and also a number of other members who are either patients on the waiting list for gallbladder surgery or have had surgery already. And it's a slowly growing advisory group because, as we touched upon earlier, they're quite a difficult bunch to get hold of. Once they've finished the study, they tend to be very well, they're back into their lives, they're back into work, and they haven't got much spare time. So it's a bit of a plea to, if you come across patients or you feel they're comfortable to approach patients about being in the PPI advisory group, maybe it would be really helpful for us if you could mention that. And we've got a flyer that you can hand out to patients who you think might be interested in joining our advisory group, just to also say that once they are on our advisory group, they do tend to enjoy it and they usually have a lot to say. So hopefully you'll find some willing candidates. And what we've been doing is varied consultation activities, really. At the moment, we're doing sort of, we used to have face-to-face meetings, obviously they're increasingly virtual. We do things on a one-to-one basis, telephone calls and Zoom calls with our advisory group members as well. And we also consult with them via email. Next slide, please, Maddie. So one of our PPI activities was to explore our participants' views of taking part in the study, which involved just general discussion at a face-to-face meeting of their views, but also we interviewed one of our former participants, and their views were really positive, and we felt this was really important to pass on to you because they commented several times that the recruitment process, they were approached very considerately and very carefully and very pleasantly. They don't think that there was anything more that they could have done in their interactions with the recruiting. So it sounds like you're doing a brilliant job of recruiting and approaching participants. They also commented on how light touch the study is, and particularly the follow-up. Some of studies I've been involved in have very heavy follow-up for patients, and this isn't the case in Sunflower, and it's something potentially that you can mention to your patients, that it is particularly not burdensome for them to be followed up in the study. However, something did crop up that was maybe an issue that we could think about a bit more when we're talking to patients, and that was that they indicated that there's the potential for some misunderstanding around the participants that are randomised to the no MRCP group, in the sense that they might be interpreting that that means they've not been selected to continue in the study because they're not having a scan. So it might be helpful during recruitment consultations to stress to patients that even though they may be randomised to the no MRCP group, they're still very much part of the study and very much part of the follow-up. And that might link back to the questionnaire response rates that we talked about earlier on in the meeting. Next slide, please, Maddie. Okay, so we've talked about this somewhat, which is the postal consent process, which was new to the study. And we actually have direct PPI involvement with this. So we felt that it was really important when introducing this process to get the patient and public views on whether they felt that the postal consent process was appropriate. And so we asked some direct questions about that of our advisory group, who confirmed that, yep, they felt it was a really appropriate way to approach patients about the study. They didn't have any qualms about that. They also felt that it still allowed them to give fully informed consent. They felt that they'd be comfortable only discussing the study by telephone and not in a face-to-face consultation. And they also helped us to make some minor amendments to the new version of the participant invitation letter. So that was a really useful process. And I think from what we've heard, it's the postal consent process is going really well, which is great to see. Next slide, please, Maddie. We've also consulted with our PPI group about restarting Sunflower after our pause during the first wave of COVID. and we've talked about that a lot today. We discussed in the study executive group the potential that patients may be concerned about coming into hospital and possibly needing an overnight stay due to the ERCP. But our patient group was really supportive of restarting the study. They had this really strong implicit trust in hospital staff, and that the hospital staff would be doing everything they could to protect patients and to comply with PPI guidelines. They actually commented that they'd feel far safer in hospital than maybe anywhere else. They didn't recommend that we include any additional information in any of our patient-facing documents, which was a bit of a relief, I have to say. Next slide, please, Maddie. Another area where PPI has really helped is we had a meeting last December, a face-to-face one, back when we could, and the group helped us to identify that introducing a poster to be displayed in clinics to advertise the study to patients might be particularly beneficial to help with recruitment. So we've drafted a poster. It's being reviewed again by the PPI group, and there are suggestions for improving its appearance, and its wording were incorporated, and we now have ethics approval for that poster, which is fantastic. Next slide, please, Maddie. So this is the last slide, and this is something I'm particularly working on at the moment with Liz and other members of the study team. So what we have is some work going on to develop a narrated animation to explain the sunflower study to our potential participants. And so we already had an animation for our clinicians and our healthcare professionals in the study to explain the study, which is on our website. But what we're doing at the moment is adapting it. So both the video potentially and also the narration that goes alongside it. So some of our PPI advisory group have reviewed the script that goes along with the video, made some comments, helping us simplify it and make sure the key issues are getting across. What we'll do is we'll revise all that, and then we're planning on piloting it with some of our PPI group members as well. So watch that space for that one. Next slide. So thank you. Yeah, just to really say that we're really keen to hear your views or ideas for any future PPI activities that you think might help, any issues maybe that could be addressed with some PPI input. Do get in touch. And also, as I said, your help with identifying new patient and public contributors is extremely welcome. So please feel free to get in touch with Liz or I. Thank you.